It's been more than a year since we said goodbye to the legendary Tina Turner, a powerhouse whose voice and spirit changed music forever. From humble beginnings in Tennessee to global superstardom, she lived a life full of ups and downs, both heartbreaking and triumphant. Her hits like Proud Mary and What's Love Got to Do with It became anthems of strength and resilience. But no one really knew the tragic details of her life behind the fame. Now, a year after her passing, Tina's husband has finally broken his silence, revealing untold stories. The question is, are there some dark secrets we never really knew? Join us as we explore the heartbreaking journey of Tina Turner's life and hear the emotional revelations her husband has finally shared. The early life of Tina Turner. Tina Turner, born Anna Mae Bullock on November 26, 1939 in Brownsville, Tennessee, didn't have the most loving start to life. The youngest of three children, she was born into a household that felt more divided than united. Her father, Floyd Richard Bullock, was a deacon at their local church and worked for a sharecropper. Despite this, home life was far from peaceful. Her parents, Floyd and Zelma Priscilla, had a strained relationship, often fighting, which created a toxic environment for their children. As a result, Tina often felt unwanted. Tina herself later opened up about how she never felt truly loved by her parents. In a 1986 interview with Rolling Stone, she said, "It was just a fact that my parents didn't care that much for me." Tina explained that her mother didn't want her in the first place, and she was born into an already troubled marriage. Her mother, Zelma, left the family when Tina was just 10 years old. This abandonment left a deep scar on young Tina. Not long after, her father moved on, leaving Tina and her siblings to be raised by their Aunt Georgie. While dealing with the emotional abandonment of both her parents, Tina discovered her love for singing. Music became a refuge for her. She often sang in her church choir and enjoyed singing in her high school music class. However, at that time, she didn't think of it as something she would do professionally. As she shared with Harvard Business Review in 2021, "I did love singing and dancing as a child, but I never thought much of becoming a professional singer until I was older." That mindset shifted as her circumstances changed. When her aunt passed away, she and her siblings were sent to live with their cousin, Ella Vera, marking another shift in her unstable childhood, loss and heartbreak. By the time Tina was 13, she had experienced more loss and upheaval than most children her age. After being abandoned by both of her parents, she and her siblings were left to the care of their cousin Ella. While Tina was close to her sister Aline, her relationship with her half-sister, Evelyn Juanita Curry, was distant. The eldest of the three, Evelyn, didn't bond with her younger sisters, preferring to spend time with adults instead. This distant relationship took a tragic turn when Evelyn and their cousin Margaret Evans, who Tina had grown close to after moving in with Ella, were killed in a car accident. The loss hit Tina hard. According to her autobiography, I, Tina, My Life Story, she fainted when she first received the news of their deaths. When she went to the funeral home to view their bodies, the reality of the loss was devastating. In her words, Evelyn didn't even look like herself. Her skull, her whole face was crushed in, just about smashed flat, but her hair was the same. It was so strange. Tina rarely spoke publicly about Evelyn after this tragic event, but she often talked about Aline, who would later play a key role in her career. Aline was a songwriter and was responsible for dressing up a young Tina and sneaking her into a St. Louis nightclub. That's where she first saw Ike Turner and the Kings of Rhythm, the band that would soon change the course of her life forever. She faced racism. Tina's early years weren't just marked by family struggles and loss. They were also shaped by the racism she faced growing up in Tennessee. As a black child, Tina wasn't allowed to enter certain places through the front door like her white peers. In a 1986 interview with Rolling Stone, she shared how it hurt to be treated that way, saying, "It hurts to be a minority. I am looked down upon because I'm black. It's like a curse on you." Even as her career with Ike Turner's band took off, racism followed her. Before the Civil Rights Act passed in 1964, Black performers like Tina had difficulty finding accommodations while on tour. She and her band often had to sleep on buses or in cars because hotels wouldn't rent rooms to them. Though things improved slightly after the bill was passed, the damage was done. Racism also hindered her in the music industry, especially when it came to crossing over from the R&B charts to mainstream success. In 1984, she told Billboard, "I hate to talk about racism, but that has a lot to do with it. When I started my career, you had to hit R&B before you could make the crossover." Tina's resilience wasn't limited to facing racism. She also dealt with heartbreak in her personal life. Early love gone wrong. When she first joined Ike Turner's band, she was drawn not to Ike, but to Raymond Hill, the band's saxophonist. The two started dating, and soon, Tina found herself pregnant while still in high school. However, just as quickly as their relationship started, it ended. Raymond suffered an ankle injury that forced him to leave the band and return home. Tina was left to navigate her pregnancy alone, relying on the support of her mother and sister. Though Tina once thought she would marry Raymond, those hopes were dashed, much like her previous relationship with a man named Harry Taylor, who had taken her virginity but quickly proved unfaithful. These early heartbreaks prepared her for the tough road ahead, but they couldn't have predicted the complex, often painful relationship she would later experience. Despite these early setbacks, Tina's talent was undeniable. She recorded a song with Ike Turner called "A Fool in Love," which became a hit and catapulted her into the spotlight. This newfound fame brought new opportunities and challenges. Her relationship with Ike was complicated, and although it started as a professional partnership, it evolved into something more. Ike saw the star potential in Tina and rebranded her from Anna Mae Bullock to Tina Turner. Together, they created music that left an indelible mark on the industry. But behind the scenes, Tina's life with Ike was anything but glamorous. A marriage built on abuse. Tina Turner, originally Anna Mae Bullock, found herself on a tragic path after marrying Ike Turner in 1962. Ike, who renamed her Tina Turner, used their marriage as a way to shield himself from his previous wife's attempts to claim part of his estate. In a rush ceremony in Tijuana, their union was less about love and more about legal protection for Ike. Tina reflected on the emptiness of that marriage years later, saying, "As far as I'm concerned, I've never been married." This wasn't a romantic beginning, and unfortunately it was only the start of a long road of abuse. During the peak of their fame in the 1960s, the Ike and Tina Turner review was unstoppable, delivering hits like "Proud Mary" and "River Deep, Mountain High." But behind the scenes, things were far from glamorous. Ike abused Tina physically and emotionally, often right before performances. Tina would go on stage with her body battered, once even performing with a likely broken nose, blood running into her mouth as she sang. As she shared with Oprah Winfrey, "Before, I'd been able to hide under makeup, but you can't hide swelling." Ike's violence was relentless, and Tina often feared for her life, knowing that he always carried a gun, which he frequently threatened her with. And so, due to all that, she decided to do the worst possible thing to break free from his abuse. She attempted a suicide. Life with Ike Turner was more than difficult. It was unbearable. His erratic and abusive behavior, often worsened by drug use, pushed Tina to the brink. One particularly devastating moment came in 1968, when she discovered that Ike was not just cheating, but was also intimate with two other women living in their home. In a twisted and painful reality, both women were also named Anne, with one already pregnant with Ike's child. This discovery drove Tina to an all-time low. Feeling utterly hopeless, she decided to end her life by swallowing 50 sleeping pills. In her memoir, My Love Story, Tina described that moment saying, "I knew my suicide attempt hadn't been a classic cry for help. I'd chosen death." But fate had other plans for her. Tina survived, and she emerged from that dark period with a renewed sense of purpose, realizing that she was meant to survive for a reason. It was not long after this incident that Ike's drug use, specifically his addiction to cocaine, took over his life, and their marriage became even more unbearable. The turning point came in 1976 when Tina had finally had enough, leading her to a dramatic and dangerous escape from Ike, fleeing with nothing but hope. In July 1976, while on tour in Dallas, Tina made a life-altering decision. After another violent altercation, she fled from Ike with nothing but 36 cents and a mobile credit card in her pocket. She sought refuge in a nearby motel, promising the manager that she would pay him later. At that moment, Tina wasn't concerned about Ike coming after her because, as she said in an interview with People magazine, "I didn't fear him killing me when I left, because I was already dead." All she wanted was her freedom and her stage name, which Ike had copyrighted. Tina filed for divorce just weeks later, and by 1978, she was officially free from Ike. Though she had gained her freedom, she had also inherited debt from the performances Ike had booked before their separation. To survive, Tina had to start from scratch. She accepted gigs in small clubs, made appearances on variety shows, and even toured with the Rolling Stones. Her persistence paid off, and soon her career began to take off once again, thanks in part to her connection with rock legend David Bowie. Bowie, a huge fan of Tina, brought executives from Capitol Records to one of her shows, and they were so impressed that they signed her on the spot. Tina's next album, Private Dancer, released in 1984, sold over 12 million copies and cemented her place as the queen of rock and roll. Tina Turner would never go hungry again. A second chance at love and life. 8 years after her divorce from Ike, Tina found love again in 1986 when she met German music executive Erwin Bach. Despite their 16-year age gap, Tina and Irwin were inseparable. The two met in 1986 when Irwin, a German music executive, was sent to greet Tina at the Dusseldorf airport. Though they were just friends at first, the connection between them grew, and soon they became a couple. Their love endured for nearly 30 years before they finally married in 2013 in a quiet civil ceremony at their home in Switzerland overlooking Lake Zurich. For Tina, meeting Irwin was love at first sight, and he remained her steadfast partner for the rest of her life. In 2016, long after her retirement, Tina faced another life-threatening battle. Her kidneys were failing, and the pain was unbearable. She even considered assisted suicide as a way to escape the agony. But when Irwin offered to donate one of his kidneys to save her life, everything changed. Tina recalled how emotional Irwin was about the possibility of losing her, saying in her autobiography, "I think that's when the idea of my death became a reality for Irwin. He was very emotional about not wanting to lose me, not wanting me to leave." In a selfless act of love, Irwin's kidney gave Tina a second chance at life, allowing her to spend her final years with the man who had shown her true love. Tina Turner's life was a journey marked by unimaginable hardship, resilience, and ultimately triumph. From escaping the grip of an abusive marriage to finding true love and achieving career success on her own terms, Tina's story is one of survival and strength. But what do her children think about her? Family tensions and claims of abandonment. When Tina Turner left her abusive marriage with Ike Turner in 1976, she made sure her 4 children were taken care of. Tina had one son, Craig, with saxophonist Raymond Hill, and another, Ronnie, with Ike Turner. She also adopted Ike's 2 sons, Ike Jr. and Michael, from his previous marriage. After she left, she ensured they had a housekeeper to look after them, believing it was the best she could do at the time. Tina once explained to Oprah Winfrey, "I made sure they would be all right. But before you can really help them, you have to strengthen yourself. You're the priority." However, not all of her children saw it that way. In 2018, Ike Jr. told the Daily Mail, "My mother is living her life. She has a new husband, and she's in Europe." He suggested that Tina had distanced herself from her past, including her children. He believed she was more focused on her new life with her husband, Erwin Bach, and no longer wanted to stay connected to the past. When HBO released the 2021 documentary Tina, some of her children were disappointed they weren't featured more. One source mentioned that it was sad that Ronnie wasn't shown interacting with his mother, or playing music with her, as that had been such a big part of their lives. Despite the tension, the family endured multiple tragedies. Craig, Tina's oldest son, took his own life in 2018. Tina was heartbroken and told the BBC, "I have no idea what pulled him down, except something that followed him with loneliness." Then, in 2022, Ronnie died from complications related to colon cancer just months before his mother's passing. These losses left a significant void in Tina's final years, but she continued to find strength in her relationship with Irwin. Even in her final years, facing physical pain and challenges, she remained a symbol of endurance, loved and supported by the man she called her soulmate, Irwin Bach. Tina's long battle with health issues. After decades of an extraordinary music career, Tina Turner retired in the early 2000s and settled into a peaceful life in Switzerland with her longtime partner, Irwin Bach. Her retirement was well-deserved after overcoming so many challenges in her personal life and career. But sadly, her health began to decline. In 2009, she suffered her first stroke, and another followed in 2013. These strokes were linked to a long-standing issue with high blood pressure, a condition Tina had been dealing with since 1978. Tina admitted she hadn't taken her hypertension seriously, saying, "I can't remember ever getting an explanation about what high blood pressure means or how it affects the body." To her, high blood pressure had become normal, and she didn't take steps to manage it until the damage had already begun. Her health continued to worsen over the years, and in 2016, she was diagnosed with intestinal cancer. Though doctors successfully removed the cancerous tissue, the procedure delayed the kidney transplant she desperately needed. As her kidneys began to fail, Tina found herself facing another life-or-death situation. It was then that Irwin Bach, her husband, stepped in and made a life-changing decision. In 2017, Irwin donated one of his kidneys to Tina, an act of selfless love that saved her life. Tina later recalled how emotional he was about the possibility of losing her. She shared in an interview with Oprah. Irwin chimed in, very emotional, and said, "I don't want another partner. He was 150% ready to give me his kidney." With Irwin's kidney, Tina's life was extended, giving her 6 more years even though her health remained fragile. Irwin's love and devotion in her final days. Tina Turner's relationship with Irwin Bach was one of true love and partnership. Tina often spoke about how Irwin wasn't intimidated by her fame, a refreshing change from her past relationships. In her 2020 book, Happiness Becomes You, a guide to changing your life for good, Tina wrote, "Irwin, who is a force of nature in his own right, has never been the least bit intimidated by my career, my talents, or my fame." She explained that he never tried to dim her light so he could shine. Instead, they shone together. Even as Tina faced her declining health, Irwin remained by her side. His love was constant, and his devotion never wavered. After her death in May 2023 at the age of 83, Irwin was seen for the first time mourning outside their home in Switzerland. Dressed in a navy blazer and dark sunglasses, Irwin placed a bouquet of red roses at Tina's memorial. Onlookers described him as drawn by grief, carefully reading the heartfelt messages from fans and arranging the flowers that had been left in tribute to the Queen of Rock and Roll. In her final years, Tina Turner faced numerous health struggles, but she also found peace in the love and support of her husband. Her life had been filled with both triumph and tragedy, and through it all, she remained a symbol of strength and resilience. The love she shared with Irwin, a love that gave her a second chance at life, was a testament to the light they brought into each other's lives. As Tina wrote in her book, "We are the light of each other's lives, and we want to shine as bright as we can together." Her perseverance is what makes her story so inspiring. As Tina herself once said, "I never in a million years would have thought I would become Tina Turner, but I did, and I have to credit my strength for that." What do you think of Tina Turner's incredible journey and the challenges she faced? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more shocking stories.